In the quiet suburbs of Oklahoma City, where spring breathes new life into every home, a shadow fell on the heart of the community on April 22, 2024. It was here, in a neighborhood where every smile was familiar and every door open, that the unimaginable took shape in the most ordinary of settings. On this day, a tragedy unfolded silently behind the closed doors of the Candy family's home, a residence that had once echoed with laughter and the sounds of an everyday family life. Now, it stood as the silent witness to a dark tale of loss and despair. As the first light of dawn painted the sky in hues of orange and blue, something sinister was brewing inside that unassuming house. A family, beloved by many, spiraled into a cataclysm so severe that it shook the very foundations of this tight-knit community. What secrets did the walls of the Candy home harbor? What events led up to this tragic morning that ended in a murder-suicide? These are the questions that haunt the corridors of the local police station, the whispers in the market aisles, the unspoken fears of neighbors. The details begin to emerge, each more unsettling than the last. A door left ajar, a meal untouched, signs of struggle, and a sudden, chilling silence that spoke volumes. Detectives stepped through the threshold, piecing together the remnants of a puzzle that no one wanted to solve. And as the investigation deepens, we delve into the depths of human emotions, where love intertwines with fear, where loyalty meets betrayal. We find ourselves face to face with the frailties of the human heart, exploring the complex tapestry of motives that could drive a seemingly happy family to such a devastating end. This is not just a story of a crime, it is a reflection on the fragility of life and the hidden turmoil that can lurk beneath the surface of normality. It's a poignant reminder of how quickly things can fall apart, how the threads of a family can unravel in the blink of an eye. Join us as we uncover the layers of this tragic story, seeking answers and understanding in the aftermath of a day that changed everything. The journey is fraught with emotion, tangled in mystery, and as compelling as any tale of fiction, yet tragically, undeniably real. Jonathan Candy, aged 42, stood out in any crowd not just for his stature but for his infectious laughter and boundless humor. In the community, he was often seen as the life of the party, a man whose dedication to his family was as deep as the lines of laughter that framed his eyes. His friends and neighbors knew him as the goofy father, always ready with a joke or a funny story, turning even the mundane into moments of joy. Lindsay Candy, 39, complemented her husband perfectly, bringing a sense of calm and poise to the bustling household. Her strength was her quiet confidence, the glue that held the family's vibrant tapestry together. She was a mother deeply involved in the lives of their 4 children, each unique, spanning a decade of parenting that filled their home with a lively energy. Their eldest, Dylan, was 18 and on the cusp of adulthood. He mirrored his mother's quiet strength but had his father's eyes, always looking for the next adventure. Known among his peers for his leadership and warmth, Dylan was a senior in high school, eagerly awaiting graduation day, with dreams that stretched far beyond the Oklahoma skies. Ethan, at 14, was the quiet thinker of the family. With a book never far from reach, he was the scholar, his curiosity about the world manifesting in endless questions and a passion for learning that matched his mother's wisdom. Lucas, the 12-year-old, was the spirited one, with energy that seemed to propel him from sunrise to sunset. His laughter was a frequent and comforting background noise in the Candy household, a testament to Jonathan's playful influence. The youngest, a boy of just 10, whose name remains a poignant whisper out of respect for his grief and survival, became the unexpected hero in the wake of the tragedy. It was he who, in the midst of unimaginable horror, found the strength to call 911 after discovering the fate that had befallen his family. His actions that morning were a heartbreaking blend of innocence and bravery, a child thrust too soon into the stark realities of life. Together, the Candy family represented the diversity of spirit and unity that many admired. Yet, beneath the surface of this idyllic depiction, there lay hidden fissures, secrets that would later unfold into a narrative no one could have anticipated, leading to a tragic morning that shattered their seemingly perfect world. On the morning of April 22nd, the stillness of dawn was shattered by an escalating altercation within the walls of the Candy household. What began as an intense, whispered argument between Jonathan and Lindsay Candy spiraled quickly out of control, the rising voices carrying a sense of urgency and despair that echoed through the corridors of their home. Jonathan, once known for his humor and jovial demeanor, was unrecognizable, overtaken by a sudden and terrifying rage. His actions were deliberate and chilling as he moved through the house with a calculated precision that belied his once goofy persona. The systematic manner in which he proceeded was methodical and ruthless. First, the couple's shared bedroom became the scene of unimaginable horror as he fatally shot Lindsay, who had been desperately trying to de-escalate the situation. The sound of the first gunshot pierced the early morning silence, a horrifying signal of the tragedy that was rapidly unfolding. Jonathan then moved down the hallway towards the bedrooms of their children, his movements eerily composed. In each room, the same grim pattern repeated itself, the door quietly opening, a moment of terrifying realization for each child, followed by the sound of gunfire. Dylan, Ethan, and Lucas were overtaken by a fate they could not escape, each found by detectives exactly where they had been targeted. Throughout the house, evidence of the family's daily life, their plans, their dreams, stood in stark contrast to the brutality of the act. Toys left out from the night before, a school backpack abandoned by the door, a half-finished cup of coffee growing cold on the kitchen counter. The youngest son, miraculously spared by mere chance or a momentary change in his father's lethal resolve, hid in a closet, clutching a stuffed animal, his breath shallow and quiet as the shots echoed through the house. It was he who, after the silence returned, emerged from his hiding place to find his world irreversibly changed. Finally, in the living room, Jonathan turned the gun on himself, completing the tragic arc of destruction that morning. His body was found near a family portrait that hung on the wall, a haunting image of happier times that now seemed like echoes from a distant, unreachable past. The police arrived to a scene that was as quiet as it was chaotic, the finality of the act leaving behind a palpable void filled only by the lingering scent of gunpowder and the silent cries of the sole survivor. The quiet of the morning was still heavy in the air when the youngest Candy, just 10 years old, awoke to a silence that felt unfamiliar and ominous. Stirring from his bed, he ventured out, his small steps hesitant as he navigated the hallways of his home, a place that now felt alien and foreboding. As he moved from room to room, the horrific truth began to reveal itself. With each discovery, his world crumbled a little more. The bodies of his family members lay in stillness, scenes so surreal that comprehension seemed beyond reach for his young mind. The normalcy of their home stood in stark contrast to the violence that had overtaken it, each room telling a part of the tragic story. Overwhelmed but driven by a survival instinct far beyond his years, he found the family phone amidst the chaos. His small fingers dialed 911, his voice trembling but clear as he spoke to the dispatcher. "I woke up and found everyone dead." The gravity of his words echoed through the line, prompting an immediate and urgent response from law enforcement. Police arrived swiftly, their presence filling the quiet street with the urgent noise of sirens and hurried communications. They entered the home, prepared for the worst yet still shaken by the scene that greeted them. Their initial findings confirmed the grim account given by the brave young caller. It was indeed a murder-suicide, each piece of evidence adding to a narrative they wished never had to be told. In the aftermath of that tragic morning, the focus swiftly shifted to the welfare of the sole survivor. The community and extended family rallied, ensuring that the young boy was enveloped in care and love. He was placed with relatives, a home where whispers of the past could be met with efforts to heal and rebuild. These relatives, grappling with their own grief, embraced him, committed to providing a semblance of normalcy amidst the profound loss. As investigations continued, the community struggled to make sense of the tragedy. Vigils were held, counselors brought in, and discussions initiated about the underlying issues that could lead to such a devastating outcome. The question of why hung heavily in the air, as did the determination to support the young survivor in every possible way, ensuring that his future would not be defined by the darkness of that day. As the dust settled on the immediate chaos of the tragedy, the focus shifted to understanding the why a man beloved as a devoted father and husband could commit such an incomprehensible act. The police investigation, meticulous and thorough, was painstaking in its pursuit of answers, yet a definitive motive remained elusive. Detectives combed through every aspect of Jonathan Candy's life, his financial records, his work history, his social interactions. They searched for signs of distress, for hidden troubles that may have simmered beneath the surface. Interviews with colleagues and friends painted the picture of a man under no extraordinary stress, a portrait at odds with the violent end he chose. In parallel, the investigation delved into the family's history. The home, now a scene of such profound tragedy, showed no prior indications of turmoil. No calls or reports of domestic violence had ever been made. The house itself, nestled in a quiet, friendly neighborhood, stood as a stark contradiction to the horror that unfolded within its walls. Community reactions were marked by shock and disbelief. Neighbors expressed their grief but also their confusion. Jonathan had been seen playing with his children in the yard, sharing laughs with neighbors at community events. The violence was not just a tragedy, it was a mystery that shook the foundations of what the community thought they knew about the seemingly happy family. Police statements to the press were careful and measured. "We are looking into every possible angle, but as of now, there remains no clear motive for Mr. Candy's actions," one detective noted during a somber press conference. The sentiment was echoed by community leaders, who urged the public to come forward with any information that might shed light on the incident. As weeks turned into months, the investigation continued, a slow and arduous process that sought to piece together the puzzle of that fateful day. Meanwhile, the community held vigils, providing a space for mourning and reflection. School counselors and local support groups were mobilized to help those affected, particularly focusing on the children of the community, who struggled to understand the loss of their peers. The ongoing nature of the investigation served as a grim reminder of the complexities of human behavior, the hidden depths of personal struggle, and the profound impact such a tragedy has on a tight-knit community. Everyone hoped for answers that might never come, and as the police worked tirelessly behind the scenes, the community clung to the hope that understanding could eventually bring healing. The reverberations of the tragedy rippled far beyond the walls of the Candy family home, touching every corner of the quiet neighborhood that had once been a sanctuary of trust and unity. The sense of disbelief was palpable as neighbors gathered on porches, in driveways, and at community centers, trying to make sense of an act that defied comprehension. Those who knew the Candy family best, their friends, co-workers, and neighbors, struggled to reconcile their memories of Jonathan, the playful father who mowed lawns with a wave and a smile, with the man responsible for such unthinkable violence. "I just can't believe it," one neighbor tearfully told reporters. "He was the last person you'd ever think could do something like this." The impact on local schools was particularly profound. Two of the Candy children, Ethan and Lucas, had been students at the same middle school, where their absence was felt deeply. Counselors were brought in to help students and staff process the loss, and classmates struggled to understand how such a tragedy could happen to their friends. Lockers once adorned with stickers and school supplies were transformed into memorials, with flowers, handwritten notes, and photographs left by grieving peers. The baseball team where Lucas had been a spirited player faced its own heartbreak. At their next game, the team stood in a solemn line, heads bowed in a moment of silence before the first pitch. His coach, eyes misty, spoke briefly to the crowd. "Lucas was more than a teammate, he was family. We'll play every game this season in his honor." The words hung heavy in the air, a poignant reminder of the young life cut short. Beyond the immediate circles of grief, the tragedy sparked wider conversations throughout the community. Local organizations and advocates for domestic violence prevention stepped forward, emphasizing the importance of awareness and support. Town hall meetings were held, where residents shared their fears and frustrations, asking how such an event could occur unnoticed and what steps could be taken to prevent future tragedies. Pamphlets and resources on recognizing signs of domestic trouble began circulating, often accompanied by stark reminders: not all abuse leaves visible scars. Churches, schools, and community centers became hubs for outreach efforts, striving to ensure that no family in their community would face such darkness alone again. For some, the tragedy became a catalyst for action. Parents took more time to talk openly with their children about mental health and emotional well-being. Friends and neighbors became more attuned to each other's lives, seeking to break through the surface of polite exchanges to ensure that no signs of distress went unnoticed. Though the pain of loss remained raw, the community's collective grief slowly began to transform into a shared determination to honor the memory of the Candy family by fostering an environment of awareness, compassion, and vigilance. It was a lesson born from tragedy, one that no one wished to learn, but one they vowed never to forget. The story of the Candy family is one that will linger in the hearts and minds of the Oklahoma City community for years to come. It is a tragedy that defies easy explanations, a stark reminder of how little we may truly know about the struggles others face behind closed doors. The loss of Jonathan, Lindsay, Dylan, Ethan, and Lucas leaves an irreplaceable void, not just in the lives of those who loved them, but in the fabric of the neighborhood that once considered them its own. As reflections on this tragedy deepen, questions persist. What signs were missed? Were there hidden struggles masked by the facade of a loving family? The Candy family's story forces us to confront the complexities of human relationships, the pressures that can quietly build, and the dire consequences of unspoken pain. This devastating event also serves as a call to action, a reminder of the need for vigilance, compassion, and open communication. Domestic violence, even when it seems absent, can exist in forms too subtle for the untrained eye. It compels us to ask, how can we better support families? How can we ensure no one feels they have no way out? The broader societal impact of the Candy tragedy has sparked conversations that reach far beyond the boundaries of their suburban street. Communities everywhere are now reflecting on the importance of recognizing mental health struggles and addressing potential sources of family conflict before they escalate. Workshops on emotional resilience, seminars on healthy family dynamics, and increased funding for domestic violence hotlines are just some of the changes being advocated. But perhaps the most significant impact of the Candy case is its ability to awaken a sense of collective responsibility. It urges each of us to look closer, to listen more intently, to check in with those we love. In a world often dominated by busy schedules and fleeting connections, it reminds us of the profound importance of simply asking, "Are you okay?" As the community continues to heal, there is hope that the tragedy of April 22, 2024, will not be remembered solely for its sorrow but for the lessons it inspired. That in their loss, the Candy family's story may save others, by encouraging conversations, fostering awareness, and shining a light on the hidden struggles that so many endure in silence. And so, the question we must all take with us is this: how can we, as individuals and as a society, ensure that this never happens again? The answer begins with each of us.